Northwest Passage is the kind of fabled trade route that they tried to find, linking the Atlantic and the Pacific through the Arctic. And really, for hundreds of years, the British Empire trying to find this and sent expeditions to try and find this route through. But invariably, the ships would get stuck in the ice. They'd overwinter. They'd run out of food, and they're great epic stories of exploration where they ended up basically starving to death, eating their own shoe leather, and eventually each other before they died. And it was eventually Amundsen who discovered the South Pole, who was the first guy to sail through the Northwest Passage. But boats have tried to do it for years now, and there have been about 100 vessels in total that have ever done it, but they've always been the big icebreakers. It's been the occasional sailing boat that's done it, but it's never been done before in a rib. So the mission was to try and take a rib through the 2,500 miles of the Arctic, and hope that the ice would give us a chance to sneak through. And really we're trying to raise awareness of what's happening with the ice melt up there, and show that climate change is very real, and there's a huge receding of the ice, and that has an impact across the world. We took a big 11-metre Zodiac. It was aluminium hull, so it could cope with the ice. We encountered quite a lot of ice around Resolute and a bit further south, and you're basically kind of reduced to one knot. We had 3 engines, we'd have 2 of them up, and we'd just kind of crawl and push through the ice and have somebody out the front pushing the ice aside. But it's quite kind of intimidating when you just get surrounded by all of this stuff. But the boat was great. It took a beating, but it achieved the mission and kept us safe, so that was the important for me. We took a small team of 5 of us. Took an engineer, myself, I took a couple of sponsors, and then an ex-Royal Marine friend of mine who I use filming a lot. So it's a small team, and we'd camp each night just wherever we found ourselves. We'd try and find a sheltered little inlet, or a little island, or little bay. We'd pull out, drop the anchor, get out the tents, put a bear patrol out. There were a lot of polar and grizzly bears up there. And then as long as you had good weather, we'd get out at dawn and just keep moving. We had all sorts of weather. It's a very dynamic weather part of the world up there. But some days we just had literally glass calm, nil winds, and we could really put some miles under the boat. So there were certainly a lot of times where we just had some really proper sized seas, and it's quite intimidating when there's a lot of ice around, and it just means you have to be so vigilant, because what's hard to see is what's white water cresting waves and what's ice. And you're going fast and it's dark, and hitting ice can be catastrophic for the engines and the boats. There's always kind of gear failure continuous. So the main failure is always the human factor. That's actually the bit that gives out first. Just because of the fatigue and the conditions and the cold and the temperature. But we had lots of little things. But it's why we had a good team. And Ben, who's our engineer, was endlessly fixing this or jerry rigging this, and we were working out ways to lift engines. We're kind of climbing rope and hoists, and but that again is a big part of expeditions. You need to adapt and improvise as you go along, and manage stuff in an area where you don't have any support. But that's part of it I love as well. So you can't take anything for granted on the sea. And the bottom line is, if you're in a small boat kind of this size, and you're that far away from health, and you're surrounded by ice, and you've got storms moving in, you've just got to be cautious, and you've got to depend on each other, and you just can't take anything for granted. You've got to have a huge respect for what the sea can do and how quickly the sea can turn. But I find myself in these difficult places a lot, and I suppose one thing I'm okay at in my life is that I'm a sticker, and I do stick with things and keep going, but it doesn't mean you're not cold, wet and miserable a lot of the time. But the great thing about this expedition is that there's nowhere to quit to. You're in it, you've got to kind of just get through the ice and get to the end of it, and that's the kind of end line and the end goal. We had a great team, and for us, for me, it was one of the best expeditions I've ever been involved in. We had everything. We had rescues for Frenchmen. We had a rescue got stuck in the ice. We had bears and grizzlies, and we discovered human remains of some early Western explorers in this remote island, and skulls and bones and graves, and so it all kind of happened on this expedition. And we were super lucky to have managed to pull it off and get back in one piece. And suddenly you're back in Southampton, the sun's shining, you kind of forget about the cold and the hard work. Global Angels is a charity we support on a lot of our expeditions, and they basically look after dying kids around the world. And what's special about Global Angels is that 100% of the funds you raise go straight to the kids. They're not taking 10% for costs or 10% for this. 100% of the money you give saves lives. So you can give £100 and then come back and say, listen, you saved 8 kids' lives by doing that. So I'm hugely motivated and love the work they do, and we always try and support them during the expeditions, and I hope in some way they've benefited from this. I'm really here for Suzuki today, and they're a big sponsor of mine, and they've backed me through a lot of expeditions and a lot of missions over the years. Their engines work when you need it most, and I'm really proud of that partnership. And they're fuel efficient, they're reliable, and they're exciting engines, and I'm really proud to partner with them.